Hey guys, I'm going to show you another strategy for adding integers. I told you on my last video with adding integers that there was two ways you could do it. Hopefully you've been using the number line, but now I'm going to show you another way because I know some of you really don't want to draw that number line. So you can choose the strategy you use, but I suggest you choose one and you stick with it. Okay, so over to the side, I'm going to write my strategy. I would suggest you getting a piece of paper right now and writing your strategy on your paper, the same thing I'm writing. So if you're adding integers and you're adding a positive plus a positive, then you're going to add. That's the same stuff you've been doing since you were like first grade, kindergarten. So it's like 2 plus 3, positive plus positive, okay? If you have a negative plus a negative, then you're also going to add those. So if my signs are the same, then I add the numbers together. So for instance, right here I've got positive 3 plus positive 1. I'm going to add and I get positive 4. Both of these numbers are positive, therefore the answer is positive. And then here, let's see. Here's a negative plus a negative, so I've got negative and negative. If both of mine are negative, then I'm going to add. So negative 2 plus negative 6, I'm going to add 2 plus 6 and get 8. Both of those numbers are negative, so therefore my answer is negative. Okay, now you're thinking, well, what if I have positive and negative? So if I have a positive plus a negative, or if I have a negative plus a positive, I'm going to subtract those numbers, okay? So if my signs are opposite, I'm going to subtract. Hopefully you're writing this stuff down too. You can pause the video if you need to. All right, so let's look at this first one right here. I've got a negative and a positive. So I'm going to go over here and look. Negative, positive. Well, if I have a negative and a positive, I'm going to subtract. So 8 minus 2 is 6. Now here's where it's tricky and you have to make sure that you listen carefully. I'm going to take the sign of the largest absolute value. Now let me remind you what absolute value means. Absolute value is how far that number is from 0. So if I'm looking at my number line, here's 0, and 8 is 8 places away from 0. So from here to here, there's 8 spaces. Okay, that's the absolute value. And then the absolute value of negative 2, well, negative 2 is 2 spaces away from 0. So the absolute value of negative 2 is 2. The one with the largest absolute value would be 8 because 8 is larger than 2. So I'm going to take the sign of the 8. That's positive, so therefore the answer is positive. So my answer for that one is positive 6. All right, let's hop on over to this one. I have a positive 7 and a negative 1. Well, a positive plus a negative is subtraction. So 7 plus negative 1 is actually subtracting. So 7 minus 1 is 6. My absolute value of the 7 is, it's 7 places away from 0, so that's 7. The absolute value of negative 1 is 1. So I'm going to take the sign of the largest. That will be 7. So this makes that a positive also. Now remember, if this is confusing and you're not sure what I'm saying, then you can always go back and draw that number line. I recommend you drawing a number line just to double check yourself. But this is another strategy you can use. All right, let's go down to this one right here. Okay, we have a positive and a negative. So first thing I want to do is check my strategy. Positive and negative is subtract. All right, so 5 minus 2 is 3. I'm going to take the sign of the largest absolute value. The absolute value here is 2. The absolute value here is 5. Okay, this one's larger. So this is a negative, so therefore my answer is going to be negative. Okay, so I'm going to do one more with you, and when I finish this last one, I want you to do 2 problems that you can talk with me about the next time we either chat or live conference, and you can give me your answers to that so that I know that you're understanding what I'm teaching, okay? All right, so let's look. Let's do this one. We have negative and negative, so I'm going to go up here and look. I have negative, negative, so that means I add. So negative 7 plus negative 2 is 9, and they're both negative, so therefore it's going to be a negative 9. All right, guys. No matter when you're doing this or which strategy you're using, I need to see it on paper, okay? So if you're using the number line, make sure you draw that on paper. If you're using this strategy, make sure you write that at the top every single time you do it. This time is great, but the next time you have a clean sheet of paper, you need to write it again, okay? That's going to help you remember. All right, if you have any questions, just send me a message and I will help you out. See you guys soon.